Hi again. Firstly, I want to acknowledge that November is Prematurity Awareness Month, Premature Birth Awareness Month. So this video is kind of going to cover what it was like to be a parent of a baby in the NICU unit. It's just a couple of days after the 17th of November, which was World Prematurity Awareness Day. You may or may not have noticed that some monuments around you might be lit up purple. This happens every year. I'd like to give a special shout out to the Neonatal Trust in Canterbury and also the New Zealand Neonatal Trust, and a massive hello and thank you to all of the nurses and doctors and staff period at the NICU unit in the Christchurch Women's Hospital. So hello, thank you, big shout out to all of you guys. In today's video I'm going to cover three main things, and those three things are all a part of the experience that I had as a mother in the NICU unit. Those things are going to be mum guilt or mother's guilt, stress and self-care, and kind of a loss of control. So those are the three things I'm going to talk about today. So let's get right into it. Mum guilt or mother's guilt, the first and biggest kind of thing that I experienced in my journey, is something that is so unbelievably real, and any mother or parent in general that has been on a NICU journey or had any kind of prolonged medical attention given to their children or their offspring or whomever they are a caregiver for, you will know what this feels like. I can't really describe it to somebody who hasn't been there. If you're currently on a NICU journey, trust me, I know how you feel. If you have been through a NICU journey, I know how you felt. This one issue, this mum guilt or mother's guilt thing, is kind of like a very special type of stress that a mother in a NICU unit will feel, and generally it's to do with feeling that there was something that you did in the course of your pregnancy that might have resulted in you being in NICU. One thing that I noticed when I was in NICU with my boy was that every single mother that I came into contact with had at some point said out loud that they felt as if it was their fault. This is something that kind of like bonded us all, even though all of our separate NICU journeys might have been very different. It was something that all of us thought at some point, what did I do? What could I have done differently? What if I hadn't done this? Or what if I had done this? It's not your fault. I want to get that really clear right now. If you are feeling this right now, or if you have felt this, I know because I have felt it, I still feel it. It's not your fault. You are not responsible for the outcome here, okay? You are not responsible for the direction your life has thrown you in with your NICU journey. It is not your fault. It's okay to feel this guilt. I don't know from my personal experience when it'll go away. I don't know if during the course of you raising your child, if it ever will go away, but I know for sure that my particular outcome, my particular circumstances, I definitely felt like there was something wrong, something I did, that it was my fault that my child was in this situation. Because the reality is, no parent really actually ever incorporates the idea of being in a NICU unit when they are planning to be a parent. That's not something that you happen to think is going to be a part of your journey. And so I just want to express here that if you are supporting a family that is currently in a NICU journey, if you've had a NICU journey, if you are the parents, you are supported, and the guilt that you feel, you are allowed to feel that way, and it's entirely okay. So mum guilt, real. Mum guilt, not your fault. Number two, stress and self-care. Stress and self-care. Should I say stress and lack of self-care? Okay, it's kind of obvious from what I'd mentioned in the mum guilt, but that NICU parents have a mountain of stress upon them. And that stress can range anything from, I haven't eaten, I want to see my child, when are we getting out of here, what can I do to help, why can't I do anything to help, is my husband alright, is my wife alright, is my girlfriend alright, is my boyfriend alright, is my partner alright, what do I tell my parents, what do I tell my family, what do I tell my friends. All of those things add to the mountain of stress that becomes a burden that NICU parents or families in general, NICU guardians, NICU families will carry. The kind of stress that you feel when you're in NICU, the kind of stress that I definitely felt, was almost always to do with not being sure what I could do to help the situation, and also the stress of being helpless in the situation. I tended to find myself wanting so badly to just stay at my son's incubator every second of every day. I didn't really want to go and leave his side to go have meals or go to the toilet or go have a drink, because for me, like, every second was precious. And there are some families that end up in a circumstance where they know that the life of their child is on a knife's edge and it could go either way. We were kind of one of those families that was very close to that kind of circumstance, and then we ended up being very much there, where we didn't know how much longer we would have with our child, so every second became precious. Again, kind of like with the mum guilt thing, I wish somebody had reminded me that it was okay to feel that kind of stress, and it was okay to not be okay. One of those things that the stress kind of impacted was, as a mother, my ability to focus on what I needed to do for my child to make sure that he was all right. When you have skin to skin contact with your baby, we're always told by like the nurses and the staff and the midwives, how you feel, your child can feel that. If you are stressed, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're upset, your child can feel that. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert here, but that is what we were told when we were in NICU. So I always had to find ways to kind of calm myself and kind of remind myself that I was here for my son, and I was going to do everything and anything that I could to make his journey as smooth as possible. The stress of me not wanting to leave his side was kind of replaced with, if I don't eat, I won't be able to make sure that I can produce enough milk for him. If I don't get enough sleep, I won't be able to make sure that I can take care of my child and be awake for those important things. It's the kind of balance that a lot of parents in the NICU space kind of have to deal with. They have to balance the level of stress, their own emotional burden, as well as the responsibility that then comes with being a parent on a journey like that. My parents were there for most of the time that we were in hospital, and we called on them for a lot of things to kind of remove certain stresses. So if you have people that are willing to support you, use them. If they are there and they're going to unconditionally try and make every part of your NICU journey as stress-free as possible, take them up on it. Don't feel like you cannot lean on the people that are in your life. I really needed to kind of let go and like allow myself to lean on my husband when he said, it's okay, go have some dinner, I'll sit with our boy. You know, those kinds of things. You really need to learn to trust the people in your life that are willing to support you. That was a lesson that I learned, and that was kind of like a practice of self-care that I have gotten into since coming out of hospital. Stress and self-care, that was a massive part of our experience in NICU. Number 3, a loss of control. To phrase it slightly differently, a loss of certainty. Specifically, in this video, NICU, being a NICU parent, being on a NICU journey, that is a stark reminder that we have very little control of our lives. The expectations that you have as parents, you can control those expectations, as in your expectations, what you see in your mind for the kind of life that you are going to live when your child gets here. But the reality, we don't have control over that. That phrase that we're told, or that you're told as a parent to be, or as a parent, or as a new parent, or even as somebody that's going into that space of caregiving, you can only prepare so much. Reality is so much different. This isn't like a maths test or an exam where there are right answers and there are wrong answers. With parenting and with the journey that you take in that space, there's only so much you can do, and that is a very, very clear thing with a NICU journey. There's only so much you can do, and when you're in NICU, there is only so much you can do, and realistically the things that you should be doing are making sure you're taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your child, so you can support yourself, or that you're taking care of yourself so you can support whomever it is that is on a NICU journey. And not being able to control the outcome of our NICU journey was incredibly heartbreaking. Not every parent gets to walk out of a NICU ward with their child, and that is something that is sometimes really difficult to remember. A lot of people just assume, okay, he or she was born a couple of weeks early, it'll be fine, they just need to spend a couple of weeks in NICU. That's not the case. Your NICU journey could be anywhere from like a couple of days to a couple of weeks to a couple of months, or it could be over before you were even ready for it to be over and before you wanted it to be over. So as a parent, coming to grips with the fact that we had very little control over the outcome of this situation was quite difficult. But the good thing is that you can talk to the nurses about this. You can talk to the doctors. They are confronted with this every day. Our nurses were so unbelievably compassionate and so caring and so loving. They sat with us, they cried with us, they laughed with us. I couldn't believe that it was possible to be in a space where there were people that were so genuinely in tune with the feelings of the parents of their patients. Piece of advice that I can give to parents that are going through this at the moment, it's trust that your nurses and doctors and consultants have your child's best interests at heart. That's the one thing that you can be certain of. Hold on to that, because any other loss of certainty there can be mitigated by knowing that your child's life is in the best hands. What was difficult for us, the emotional instability that we were kind of dealing with, was that we didn't know if our child would make it. Like I said before, not everyone gets to leave the hospital with their child. It is something that is kind of a reality of the environment of NICU, and because we had so much uncertainty around whether or not we were going to have that outcome, it was good for us to get all of those feelings out to the nurses and the doctors and our consultants. They work really hard. Our consultant worked so unbelievably hard. She was contactable 24/7. Every anxiety we had, every single time something happened that we thought was important or that needed to be kind of known by the medical staff, our doctors, our consultants, the nurses on staff were all so in tune with that space. My bit of advice, if you're still going through this journey, is just don't be scared about the fact that you can't control the situation or that you have no certainty. The control has been given to people who are well equipped to deal with the situation, and that lack of certainty, you're all right to feel like that, because that NICU journey for us, it was only 8 days. It felt like 8 years, and it was painful, and it was beautiful, and it was the best and worst time of my life, and I cannot tell you how much I miss my son and how sad I was that I wasn't able to bring him home. But every time I think about the experience now, looking back, all the parents whose children had these massive milestones that they were meeting and they were able to kind of move on to the next step of their journey, I was so happy for them. I'm so happy for you if you've managed to have a journey that had a successful outcome. That is the best thing possible. And just don't forget that whomever you have to support you, lean on them. Don't be scared to do that, because if they've offered, that means that they're willing to let you share the burden with them. Till next time, again, thank you to NICU at Christchurch Women's, and yes, happy Prematurity Awareness Month.